have lost you.
So, the topic today is what is development. I have to say it will be very different from what is usually said about this topic. Let's see. We start with the idea that defeat shapes minds. Ibn Khaldun said that defeated nations imitate their victors in all ways. They copy their ways of dressing, eating, fashion, everything. So there was a time when the Islamic civilization dominated the world and everybody imitated us. But the past 300 years have been years of continuous defeat in many different dimensions, not just the military battlefields. And so these defeats have shaped our thoughts and thinking. Today we are imitating the victors. So victory also shapes minds. People who are there's a very important book by Edward Said, which is called Orientalism. And the main thesis of this book is that all dimensions of European knowledge about East is based on the root historical fact of global conquest. That in early 20th century, Europe had control of about 85% of the planet. This conquest was incredibly savage and brutal. The cruelty is so vast that it's hard to think about. Millions of Africans were transported forcibly from their homes in conditions like animals on ships, and they were taken to various colonies and made to act as animals and treated like animals. The Incas were treated like animals, and the Red Indians were genocided. All across the globe there were self-sufficient societies living in relative peace, and these were destroyed. And they were turned into resources for use for production of wealth by the Europeans. But the unimaginable brutality of this act cannot really even be grasped, so it had to be covered up, it had to be given a story, and that's what basically European knowledge about the East is, that the Eastern people are so inferior to human beings that they are like animals. They had to believe that in order to justify these acts that were done. And so these were suppressed for memory and justified by the creation of a special kind of knowledge, which says basically that the white race is superior to the others, and many other things, more sophisticated. We are rational, they are irrational, we are scientific, they are superstitious, and so on. So this knowledge that was created and is openly available, and it is the subtext of all literature that we read in our universities and colleges. We have also absorbed this knowledge and been affected by this. So the truth about history is actually buried out of sight because it's too traumatic for the conquerors to believe that this is what we did. It's hard for a human being to comprehend, so it has to be covered up. But these accounts are available, but not easily available, not part of the mainstream discourse. So basically history is the conquest song of the victors, in which they glorify and make themselves appear as heroes. There is an African proverb that the tale of the hunt will always glorify the hunter until the lions get their own historians. So from the lion's point of view, this man comes with a gun and shoots a lion who is sitting at peace comfortably. And then he is made to be a hero in the tale and shown to be brave. And the books are Indians that have written this book called Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee, which is, if you read, it can make you cry. In Congo, Belgian Congo, there is a book called King Leopold's Ghost, which describes how the Africans were made to work in rubber plantation. They produce a certain amount of quota. If they didn't, their hands would be chopped off, and their wives and children were held hostage. So if they run away, then they could do whatever they like. And this was in Europe. It was said that we are doing Christian act of charity, and we are teaching them work ethics, because these Africans, they are lazy, no good, and so we are teaching them how to work. So what is advertised and what is the reality, there is a dramatic difference between these two things. In Vietnam and Philippines, massacres every day. The orders were kill anything that moves. Today, just now, Gina Haspel is being confirmed in the Senate, and basically she actually supervised torture centers. So the topic of torture is very easily, and you can find lots of news about this. It shows how extremely sadistic and brutal kind of torture was being done by officials. It is officially denied that we did this, but actually the orders came from the top. So Abu Ghraib is famous, but these kind of things happen all over the world, where the CIA has actually a torture manual, which is, according to the people who have run it, the first major advance in torture techniques since the Spanish Inquisition. And they have used this to train people all over the world in how to do torture. And they have done it by picking up innocent people and just demonstrating the techniques on them until they die. So this kind of thing is documented. We all know about this. But, as I said, the reality, the truth cannot be told. It is too gruesome, too horrible. So, the cover story is different. This cover story is the white man's burden story. That Europe was the most advanced of societies. They had everything. They had civilization. The whole world was barbaric. They had light. The whole world was in darkness. So, out of the goodness of their hearts, because of the desire to do good to everyone, they went to the rest of the world and they shared their benefits, even though they were very comfortable sitting at home, but they suffered the trouble and difficulties to bring their benefits of their civilization to the black man who was living in ignorance and darkness. So the standard history is told by people like Niall Ferguson, who is an apologist for empire, and basically they have put together this myth of benevolent colonialism, which has been swallowed by the colonized as well, that the British came and they built railroads for us and they taught us how to eat with spoon and fork, where we were living in trees and eating with our hands, and we didn't know how to read and write. So on. This is the standard, that we were barbarian savages and they came and civilized us. So today the cover story is becoming weaker, and Shashi Tharoor has written this era of darkness which displays some of the cruelties that were done by the British. So, listing these would be too long, but one of the very important things that we need to understand, which matters for today, is that a central element of the British strategy for ruling India was the divide and rule, which we have all heard about. We don't really know what it means. Basically, there were many, many ways in which the British ensured that the people would keep fighting each other, and they created this enmity between Hindus and Muslims, which persists today. It was not the case. In the Mughal era, the Hindus and there were Hindu kingdoms and there were Muslim kingdoms, and they would ally with each other and fight each other. Muslim and Hindu are on the same team fighting against the Sikhs. It was all politics. It didn't have to do with religion. And the Hindus and Muslims lived side by side for ages, for centuries, without any mutual murder. But these hatreds were planted because that made their rule solid. And today we are still fighting each other, even though there is no earthly reason for us to do so. And it is at massive cost to us, this continued fighting. So just to illustrate that this process is going on today in Iraq, the reasons that were claimed, the same, that they are going in because Iraq has weapons of mass destruction. Well-known lie. The CIA was told to manufacture evidence and present it. That even though everybody said, including the chief weapons inspector who went and examined Iraq, that they don't have any such weapons. They manufactured evidence, and they claim that there is this evil dictator, Saddam Hussein, who is going to destroy the world with these weapons. So we have to protect the world, and the poor Iraqi Awam is suffering under dictators, so we are going to go and liberate them and give them democracy. So these were the claimed reasons, same white man's word. And what was the real reason? Everybody knows. So basically, just like the cover story and the reality are so dramatically different, so all European, this is the very surprising theme of Orientalism, that all European knowledge of East is governed by the necessity to justify their oppression and cruelty. So it's all like this Iraq story that we went to give democracy to the world, when the real purpose was to just loot all of the wealth from all of the planet. So the thing is that, as I said, when Islam was dominant for 1,000 years, Islamic ideas were dominant throughout the globe. The Europeans and the Chinese and the Africans, they all were influenced by Islamic ideals and visions. So today the hegemony is in the hands of the Europeans, so European ideas are dominant. And so the coconut complex is that we are brown on the outside but white on the inside. Their knowledge, what they know about the world, is what we know about the world. So if they think that the white races are superior and the browns are lazy and corrupt, so we also think in the same way. So what is development? Well, today development is to be like the Americans. This is what it means. There's nothing. That's because they are the world leaders and they define the meaning of development. This has not been. It has not been like this always. So, what are the ideas of the world leaders? That the goal of life and is to acquire wealth, and all is fair in love and war. Might makes right. If you want to destroy, if you have the power to destroy a nation, that gives you the right to do so. So today we see Iraq, Syria, Libya, just completely bombed, hospitals, schools, infrastructure. This is much bigger than any terrorist incident. But if one man kills 12 people with a machine gun in France, all the world leaders get together for his funeral and big speeches are made about how we will fight terrorism. whole country is destroyed in front of everybody's eyes, and nobody says one word. Like 1 million civilians innocent. In fact, when Madeleine Albright was asked on public TV that 500,000 Iraqi children had died, at least you can't claim that these are terrorists. But so, what do you think? So, is it a price worth paying? She said, yes, it's a difficult question, but yes, it is worth it. So, she's ready to kill 500,000 children for the sake of oil. So, whatever it takes, if you can, basically everything is valued in terms of money. And this is basically the mindset that is created by centuries of colonizing the world. I mean, the only ethic which colonialism knows is that you conquer and you exploit. Once you have conquered, you have the right to do whatever you want to the people who have been conquered. So this is the dominant definition of development. Get wealth by any means whatsoever. So today we are going to think about the opposites. There is the technique of binary opposition. There is an idea and then there is the opposite idea. This gives you a lot of clarity. The truth is not that simple, but there is shades of grey and lots of complexity. But it is useful to get clarity of our own understanding, to think of the two polar opposites. Then we can think about things in the middle. So it's useful. So this means that I am going to be oversimplifying things, but it is useful as a first step. So why Nakami Mataye Karma Jata Raha? Not only did we lose our treasure, but we even lost the sense of loss. We have even forgotten those things that we had. So now even people, when you talk about the things that we had, people say, no, this cannot be, it's just a fable, a myth. जिनके हंगामों से थे आबाद वीराने के भी शहर उनके मिट गए आबादियां सुन So there is this book called The Ornament of the World, How Muslims, Jews and Christians Created a Culture of Tolerance in Medieval Spain, by Maria Rosa Menucal, Harvard professor. She explains that in the Islamic Spain, in Andalus, the Muslims created a culture which is unique, unparalleled, that has never been seen before, where Muslims, Christians and Jews, they lived in harmony and tolerance. This is something which the world has not achieved as yet. Today the Jews are torturing the Palestinians and the Christians are torturing the blacks in America. All over the world, divisions and hatred and rules the world. But the Muslims had another way of living. The Muslims had the most cosmopolitan empire that the world has ever seen. There has been no other empire like that, in which anyone from any race could rise to the top. There was no discrimination, and you can point out the Christian wazirs of various Khalifas throughout history, and Jews who had very high positions, and so there was no barrier, because Islam teaches us tolerance in a very large scale. There are so many stories, including the Quran says that there are these star worshippers, and these all will get their reward from their Lord. There is no compulsion in religion. Let everybody act according to what they wish, and on the day of judgment we will sort them out. It is not our job to force people to become Muslims. Our job is only ma alayna illa. Our job is to carry the message. But if they believe, that's their job. If they don't believe, that's also up to God to judge them. It's not ours to judge them. So we had a very tolerant culture which had a lot of room. Allah Ta'ala says that argue with them in the best of ways, not by the gun or by. So one thing that we need to understand is what is development according to Islam is very different, almost the opposite of what is development according to the West. So 1400 years ago, the teachings of Islam catapulted the most backward and ignorant nation on the planet at that time, the Arabs in the Jahiliyyah. They were primitive. At that time, they were very advanced civilizations. There was China and Iran and Rome and Egypt had advanced engineering, but and many sophisticated technology and culture and philosophy and literature. But Arabs had nothing. They were just Bedouins. But the teachings of Islam made them the leaders of the world, and it created a unique civilization which dominated the world for 1,000 years. So, what were these teachings? Islam had come as a stranger. Are these teachings relevant today? Do they carry any value? Can they do the same thing today that they did 1400 years ago? Islam came as a stranger, it has become a stranger, even to the Muslims. And now the ideas which created this evolution have been forgotten by the Muslims. Basically, some of these ideas which we will review was that the key to Islam is excellence in conduct. The Prophet was sent as Rahmatul lil Alameen, and if good behavior towards others is the essence of Islam. The woman is one from whose hand and tongue everyone is safe, and there are so many encouragements to behave well. The woman is one who loves others and who is loved by others. But these things have been forgotten. Today the woman is one whose sword is ready to kill anyone who disagrees with him. So this is today's definition of Islam is very different from how the early Muslims saw Islam. In Islam, the strong should protect the weak, the rich should give to the poor, and there was social responsibility. As a society, we are all responsible for all of the weak. If there is any hungry child in Pakistan, it is my responsibility. If there is some child who is not achieving education, it is my responsibility. Today, that is no longer the case. So, the truths that Islam brought have been replaced by myths which arise from the European hegemony. And I will discuss only a few of them today. So, basically, we have all learned what is called Eurocentric history. Eurocentric history places Europe at the center of the world. Everything that good that ever came was invented by the Europeans. So there is this myth of European enlightenment. According to this myth, the whole world was in darkness, and then the sun of reason first rose in Europe in 1600. Suddenly, all of us, without any background, without any reason, suddenly the Europeans, the Dark Ages ended, and they started thinking, and they got science, and they got democracy, and they got everything good ever known to mankind was invented by the Europeans in 16th to 18th century period where they got enlightenment. And then they realized that the whole world is still in darkness, so then they spread out carrying their torches and bringing light to all four corners of the world. So, actually, this is not a true story. The true story is that the Islamic Spain, Andalus, was a very advanced civilization, and they had 700 years. Today, the European civilization is only 300 years old. So, in 700 years, like is written in the Quran, all civilizations will rise and fall. There is no one who has permanence. So, they decayed and they declined, and they became wrapped in luxuries of very, very advanced luxuries. So, the Europeans, who were young and primitive and savage, they reconquered. Like has been the case throughout history where civilization grow decadent and then young barbarian tribes come and take over. And that's what happened. And when the Europeans reconquered Spain, they found millions of books in the libraries of the Muslims. Literally millions of books. And so for 2 centuries, the European culture was involved in trying to absorb this shock of new knowledge. And the church did massive efforts. The Inquisition was an effort to stop heretical thoughts. The church imposed censorship. All books that were being translated, they had to be passed by the church. And if anybody had any heretical idea, it was actually they were suppressed. The people were tortured. Galileo was tortured. Copernicus' friend was tortured. So actually Copernicus just translated an Arabic text called Ibn Shatir. He is known as a great revolutionary today. Even today the Europeans do not accept the idea that the Copernicus was just a copyist. But Copernicus had a friend who was a priest who was under trial by the church for 10 years, and he was tortured and imprisoned because of his heretical ideas which he had gotten from the Muslims. So how could poor Copernicus admit to the Islamic origin of his thought? He could not. So he was copied, but he is now known as the founder of the Copernican revolution. Similarly, Descartes is known as the inventor of analytic geometry, a very advanced and sophisticated technique in mathematics, which has been responsible for a lot of. But this technique is not found in his works anywhere. It has been implanted on Descartes, and it is available in the books of Muslims much earlier. So, Isaac Newton, the laws of motion were formulated by Ibn al-Haytham and many others. And the mathematics of Copernicus was also available in Muslim writings. So the point is that the history that we have been told is deliberately distorted to take the names of the Muslims out. So what does it matter? Khudram Sultan, हमारे लोगों ने बहुत सारे कारनामे किए थे, हाँ आज तो हमारे पास कुछ भी नहीं है. But actually it matters in a number of ways. One of the things is that as a teacher, I know that when I sit and teach students, there is a feeling of hopelessness and despair that, we are backwards and ignorant, and none of our forefathers ever did anything useful, so how can I do anything? So this idea, the first thing you need in order to make achievements is to have a vision, have a hope, have ambition. So this is destroyed and crushed by this European myth that everything good was invented by the Europeans. And so the black man is intrinsically inferior because he cannot think scientifically. They are trapped in this superstition frame of mind which they cannot get rid of. So that's one of the things. But even more importantly, actually a lot of very important ideas, in fact the main ideas which the Islamic civilization had were never taken by the Europeans. So they are still available, they are still of burning importance. They took only some of the less important ideas from the Islamic Spain. They didn't take the crucial ideas, which was the message of humanity, the message of love, the message of peace, the message in the Quran that be just even to your enemy. Do not let your enmity swerve you from justice. So this is an idea which is unknown to the world today.